The next speaker would like to challenge you on your assumptions. To culture clinical excellence, realizing that what you know and understand is far less than what you think. Do you, for example, know what people think when you walk in the room? Is this the theme song supporting your entrance? Or are you more of a right, set, Fred kind of guy, like our next speaker? It's time to stand up. Stand up. And as Chris makes his way back to the stage, have a think about what your theme song is and join him in dancing his way to the stage with his...
Not my idea.
Mine.
Middle-aged man.
Way you want. A contact sport. Let the neighbors talk. Dippy and Superman. I'll explain.
Enough of that! You're not dancing! Sit down, you are bad Danish people!
I can't make head nor tail of passion.
I imagine that I might come through the door and my guys would hear a wee bit of this. This is what I'd like them to hear when I come in the door, not the theme tune to Jaws. Oh yeah! And they would be so good, and they would just be loving it. And I'd be this fantastic consultant, and they go, he's the guy who's going to help us. But it's not really like that, is it? Now I, of course, have no idea how to make this work. Green one forward. Green one forward. Oh yeah, the big green one. There we go. I would like to challenge you a little bit on your assumptions about what you think about people when they come in the room and what you think when you decide their reasons for doing something were. And for me, this started, so I run this thing, Civility Saves Lives. I've spoken about that already. And it started for me when I went for dinner one night in Belfast with the president of one of the Royal Colleges. And he was sitting at the table and he said, "Chris, my boy." And I quite like being called my boy. I have no real problem with that at all. "Chris, my boy, I just wish that people would do the right thing." And that's a really interesting statement. Because when he said that, he was thinking that other people were deliberately choosing to do the wrong thing. That's what was going on in his head. So over COVID, I've had the chance to ask a lot of people this, because you can do it online with polling. And you can ask people, I sometimes speak to more than 1,000 people online, and you can ask people, how often in a professional capacity do you see other people choosing to do the wrong thing? And when you ask people online and you give them the choice of daily, weekly, yearly, or never, they say daily and weekly. Other people are muppets. Yeah? But when you ask the whole organization the same question, how often do you choose to deliberately do the wrong thing in professional situations? Never. Yeah. Or yearly. Sort of a celebratory thing once a year. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on there. But they're saying that they're not doing the wrong thing. And yet sometimes I have the whole organization. So every single person in that organization thinks that other people are deliberately doing the wrong thing. But every single person also thinks that they are doing the right thing. And that doesn't marry up. And what it means is we think other people are doing the wrong thing. We don't believe that we are. Therefore, probably everybody believes that they are doing the right thing. And I've done a wee bit of research into this, because I researched the development of wisdom in doctors, which is a really esoteric thing. But we spent a bit of time looking at what made things the right thing for people. And what we found was that it's nearly impossible for people, doesn't matter which people we're talking about here, to deliberately choose to do the wrong thing in a professional setting, unless they're psychopaths. But let's push them to the side. And that even when something looks batshit crazy from your perspective, it is making some sense to them. They are not bad people. They are good people making a different choice to us. And the reason I labour the point is because there is a bear trap here. And the bear trap is this. When we watch somebody else doing something that we think is wrong, it is very easy for us to then say, they did a bad thing, therefore they must be a bad person. Once we make the judgment that they are a bad person, it is a small step to feeling that they deserve to be punished. And that is poison in governance. The belief that other people are deliberately doing the wrong thing. So we did a bit of work and we worked out what was making people choose certain actions. And you can look at this through an ethical lens. I like ethics. I think ethics helps us to understand a lot of complex stuff in medicine. And there's the ethics you get at medical school of autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. And that's principlist ethics. But there are other flavors of ethics out there. And one of them is called normative ethics. And it goes like this. There are 3 groups of people who are making decisions in professional settings. They're always doing what they think is right, but this is why it's right for them. So the first group are people who will have done the right thing as long as they get the right end result. And they don't care how they get there. And that's people who are usually put under an awful lot of pressure to achieve a result, or else they get the sack or something like that. They're called consequentialists. In our world, these might be people who got the kids to school on time. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter that they went through 3 red lights and almost knocked over a couple of cyclists. Getting the kids to school was all that mattered. There's a second group. These are people who will have done the right thing if they follow the rules. And actually, in my world, and I can't comment about yours because it will be different in Denmark, but in my world, in a really broad brush sense, people who follow the rules tend to not get into trouble. Within healthcare, there are some groups of people who are forced to follow the rules for much longer. And that is particularly true of my nursing colleagues, who, even if they know that there is a better option, but it's outside the rules, if they go there, in the UK at least, they run the risk of getting into an awful lot of trouble. And those people are called deontologists. And the final group are people who are given a completely different set of permissions. And these are people who are allowed to make a decision, sometimes which crosses boundaries like the law, sometimes it crosses boundaries like fairness, sometimes which really looks like an odd decision from the outside. They're practicing what is called phronesis. We had Cicero earlier on this morning. Well, this is an Aristotelian virtue ethic. And Aristotle talked about doing the right thing the right way, but it's situated. Right here, right now, this is the right thing for this person. And in 10 minutes, it might not be. And actually, for somebody else in exactly the same situation, it might not be the right thing for them. And that stuff altogether is normative ethics. In my world, in the UK, and I cannot draw the parallels with yours, what tends to happen is that the very head people in organisations are often held to account in a way that makes them lose their jobs if they don't hit targets. I have nursing colleagues who are not allowed to act outside the rules for them. And we have a bunch of doctors who are allowed to do pretty much whatever they think is the right thing most of the time. All 3 of them in a given situation can do a different thing, but they're all doing the right thing from their perspective. And the important thing about this is if we don't ask, we don't know. And our decision making, no matter what our role is a function of what we think is right in the circumstances and also what we are allowed to do. And that almost nobody is trying to do the wrong thing. And if we can step away from that, we start to have much more interesting conversations. But what the hell has that got to do with Right Said Fred? Not an awful lot. That was just a bit of humiliation for me, thanks to Sandra. What is your theme tune? What would you like people to hear when you come in the door? For me, the theme tune that my registrar was hearing when I came in the door was the theme tune to Jaws. And I would not have known this, except for one of the senior nurses came up to me and she said, "Chris, what did you say to the registrar?" And I had no idea. And she said, "Well, the registrar says," so junior doctor, says that you said that they weren't a good doctor and they couldn't run the shop floor. They couldn't run the emergency department, which was pretty damning, I think, and also completely wrong because I thought that this doctor was a very good doctor. I thought they ran the shop floor very well. Then I realised I'd been on shift with them for a couple of weeks and I hadn't seen them. I work in a big department. We see up to 700 patients a day, but it's not so big as you don't see somebody for a whole shift unless they are avoiding you. And my reg had been avoiding me. So the next time I was on shift, I saw them and I said, "Can we go for a quick coffee?" "Don't worry, it's nothing bad." Because if you don't say that, it's the most awful walk for anybody. And we went and we sat down and I said, "Listen, I've given you this impression. I'm sorry, it's not what I think of you at all. Can you tell me what I did to give you that idea?" And they told me. And basically it goes like this. When I arrive at work, this is pre-COVID, I arrive at work, I tend to be there by 7 in the morning. I walk in, I walk through the department, through rapid assessment, into resus, through the main part of the department, and I go and say hello to people in each part of it. This was before COVID. We used to stack patients up in our corridors. We frequently had 40 patients in our corridors, as well as every single cubicle full. The place looked like a bomb had gone off. Always looked like this. I walked around and said hi to Focus. I saw the registrar. And I said, "How was the night? What was going on?" And then I asked a question, which in my head was utterly innocent. I said, "When did the wheels fall off?" And what I meant was, when did it get out of control? Was it before they came on shift? Or did it happen later? And it was totally innocent as a question of just interested in the time. What they heard was totally different. They heard, "You let the wheels fall off. You're a bad doctor. Bad doctor. You can't run the shop floor." And we sat down and I tried to explain to them that that was not what I meant. But this conversation took a long time. I eventually managed to, I think, persuade them. And we went on to have a good working relationship. But it got me to thinking. Got me to think about what's the evidence about misinterpreting each other. So have you guys ever been misinterpreted? My guess is you might have been, once or twice, yeah? Let's talk about words, misinterpretation of words. Okay, a little game inside your own head, just for a minute. When you talk to somebody else, what percentage of that information do they understand when you're talking to them? And this is if you give them emotional information, maybe some numbers and stuff as well. What percentage are they going to get? Then when you send them an email, what percentage of that are they going to understand? Now, on the other side of this, when you receive information, what percentage are you going to understand? When it's spoken and when it's written. So fortunately, Kruger and Epley have done this. Kruger and Epley did this in 2005, and it never really went anywhere as a piece of research. I think it's utterly fascinating because it turns out that when we're talking, or if we send somebody an email, we believe that they will understand about 80% of it. But when we receive information, we think we're smarter than that. So actually, 90%. This is smart. Okay, I'm going to understand this. And then they went to do the actual work on it and discover how much people really understood. So when it's the spoken word, receivers understand about 78%, very close to that 80%. And when we send an email, if that email's got emotion in it, no matter how well you write your email, on average, 56%. And you can see right there where the problem lies, because the receiver believes with 90% certainty that they have understood this thing that you have sent to them. And that's a recipe for disaster. So how come we're so accurate at estimating how much other people will understand when we talk? Well, we probably get real-time feedback. We know if people don't understand us, they ask us questions, and we can see from their face if they're getting it or not. When we send an email, nothing. It just goes off into the ether. And unless they happen to be sitting at their desk at that moment in time, we don't hear a thing. So just for the last couple of minutes, just want to unpack this. What's going on when we talk? Okay, we've got words, we've got tone, we've got movement. We talked about that a wee bit this morning. We've got other stuff going on as well, though. We've got the mood of the sender. Right now, you're listening to me. You can probably tell I'm in quite a good mood. I'm very happy to be here. It's a beautiful city. I've met some lovely people. It's all good. Then you've got the mood of the receiver. If you're sitting there and you're really looking forward to Kate getting up to speak next, sorry, Kate, that just woke you up. If you're sitting there going, come on, get off, well, you'll be receiving this in a different way, but you're probably quite relaxed. You're having a nice day out. We're face to face. It's all a good thing. And you're probably receiving it fairly positively. And then there's something else. There's my theme tune, my reputation. What precedes me? So probably nothing preceded me this morning before I came and spoke the first time. But this time, when I'm coming back to speak, you have a wee bit of an idea of where I'm coming from. And then what's happening when we receive an email? So if you think about it, that stuff there, that's enough to understand on average 78% of emotional complex stuff. When we send an email, you don't know what mood I was in when I sent that email. Was I smiling or was I snarling as I tapped those letters out on the keyboard? You don't have any tone. You don't need movement. So you've got some words. And you're going to interpret these words through two things. The first is your mood at the time. And if you are in a crappy mood, you're going to interpret things really negatively. And the second is the reputation of the person sending the email. You will all have people who send you an email that when that email arrives in your inbox, you go, step back, step away from the email. Do not open the email just now. Some of you might be like me. You will have people that you only open their emails when you're angry, because they're going to make you angry, so you might as well open them when you're angry, and then you can tap something back to them, the bastards. And there's other people who will send you an email and you will open it straight away because every one of their emails is funny. And that's their reputation speaking. Even if they're not funny, it's still funny. And that stuff there is simply not enough for us to make an accurate interpretation of the intention of other people when they write to us. So what does it all mean? We understand way less than we think we do. And then we do this thing of attributing intentions to other people, which literally they may not have meant anything at all by them. And that gives us an amazing opportunity, because by knowing a little bit about this, we can change what we think about other people, and perhaps we can understand why they misinterpret us sometimes. If we know that people are trying to do the right thing, it's a good starting place. So not why did you do that, but what made that the right thing to do? If we can accept that we interpret things wrongly and that other people will interpret us wrongly, maybe we can take a little bit longer with people. Maybe we can stop and pause and listen and not hear the terrible intent that we think is there and try and hear what they really meant. And sometimes when we send an email, all we've really got to work on is our reputation. So we can all work on our theme tunes. Thank you very much for listening.